times. It is something that is very much present before COVID and is going to stay outside COVID also. Anxiety and depression is not new. Shah Rukh Khan's Dear Zindagi made more than 100 crores because it's something very, very normal and natural to our lives. So uncertainty or a doubt is a professional, a mental, a financial, a economical doubt that comes to our mind from time to time that stops us from being at our best. And as all sessions, this is the what that we would want to cover. And therefore, moving on to the first section, which is the current state of economy, and how do we think we can bounce back, and some of the critical pointers that we need to have in mind. Anand, I would invite you here to kind of introduce us to this section, and with your valuable inputs on how we can kind of look at the various sectors and economy right now.
Yeah, thank you, Debo, and good morning, everybody. It's really a great pleasure to be amongst all of you, and I can see some familiar faces after a very long time, and very, very happy to see all of you. I'll be frank, I think it's relatively one of the first times that I'm speaking on a very general topic, and Debo has sort of coerced me into speaking on this. Usually, I'm more grilled on matters related to retail or to around business. But without sounding more like a all-knowing management guru, I will try and take you through some of my learnings. Fundamentally, I do not really agree to the term uncertainty. I'm optimistic at heart, and I really think uncertainty as a term itself signifies a bit of negativity. And the only thing we really need to have to go through everyday life is some amount of positivity. So if we stop being uncertain, we can become even more positive. And the question really is not how we will become less uncertain. The question really is what will it take for us to become positive. Anyways, I will not really try and speak like Debo or a management guru. I will try to get to the facts. Addressing the topic at hand, if I look at the economy, the economic condition is slightly depressed, with all the leading rating agencies of the world predicting a degrowth of around 5 to 10% for the Indian economy. That is the GDP. My guess is that we will really be lucky if we are able to contain the degrowth to this range of 5 to 10%. There is a general sense of cost control going around in almost all sectors of the economy. Leave around the sectors of the economy, I think even in our households, we are controlling cost. We are controlling our expenditure, and we are conserving cash. And therefore, there is a very strong reason to believe that the income levels of the median or medium urban, consuming class will decrease over last year. Hope, as they say, can never be a strategy. And collectively, we have not really done anything to prevent the downslide.
Anand, your voice broke for the last 10 seconds. Maybe you can repeat. Yeah.
So I was just trying to say that hope really should not be a strategy, and collectively, we have not really done anything to prevent the downslide. The lockdown is a containment and deferment strategy to delay the onslaught of corona so that the government, and rightfully so, can get some more time to prepare and to get the health infrastructure in place, get the medicines in place, get the equipment stocks in place, and also to get the general sense within the public to get the right health and hygiene consciousness. That is really the way that one can really fight this epidemic or pandemic. The economic package also given by the government is largely towards the micro or the small industrial sectors and the farmers, which are not really going to solve the larger salary cuts or the job insecurity issues that we are going to talk about today. At a broader level, and this is also very unlike what has happened in the rest of the world. If you look at the US or the Singapore or the UKs of the world, most of the countries have assured minimum wages, and mind you, minimum wages there are very, very handsome, very, very attractive. So they have assured minimum wages to all their citizens. By itself, lockdown also cannot cure corona, as the weakest link in the chain or any new infected citizen can recreate the entire chain again. While the only cure is personal wellness, hygiene, and also a bit of herd immunity, till the time a vaccine is found and made available to the masses and also administered. And mind you, it's a very big mammoth task. Because it's a very long drawn task, therefore, one cannot and one should not remain uncertain for such a long drawn time. And that's the key message that I really want to bring forward in my debate, that we really should not look forward to remain uncertain. Now, like in any situation, all sectors of any economy cannot go down. We are talking about 5 to 10% reduction in the economy. It is not like that the world has come to an end. There are still people living, eating, drinking, getting married, enjoying the most of all consuming goods and services, all of which drives any economy. As of now, even now as I speak to you, we are all on Zoom, using internet and a laptop or a mobile. Obviously, we are all consuming electricity, bandwidth, software, services, and telephony apart from the mobile or laptop hardware. Clearly and very obviously, all these sectors are in demand and bound to grow even during lean times. Now the question is, can we identify some of these sectors where we can find opportunities for ourselves? And these are not the only sectors where one can, find something. The examples are many, and we can find many similar things if we look around very carefully. Amongst the top picks that I would take, or logically in a situation like this, what I feel will still keep on working on growing is definitely infrastructure. If you look at telecom, if you look at utilities, and if you look at renewable energy, and renewable energy is going to come up in a very big way. Solar has always been a big flavor with the investment circles. But apart from solar, I think any other form of renewable energy, if you look at the electric cars also, that's the the game changer, which is going to change the way we are going to look and breathe and think about cars or automation going forward. uh, Health as a sector, which includes medicine, medicine manufacturing, research, hospitals, path labs, doctor services, and all other associated services which paramedical agencies provide to the health sector. Logistics, I think the biggest gainer or the biggest eye opener for everybody should be logistics. The world still has to consume on both counts: logistics for the normal manufacturing, warehousing, storage, distribution, and in addition to the new reinforced love for e-commerce and also its very complicated order management. This is not only delivery boys for home delivery, but a host of supervisory layer to manage the entire supply chain. And believe me, it is not easy. Please understand, all e-commerce marketplaces at the end of the day are either software companies or supply chain companies. They are purely doing logistics. They are not really retailers. They are not traders. They are only software companies sitting on top of supply chain management. Uh, One very important aspect, if you look at the logistics and how opportunities can be leveraged, the SARS crisis in 2003, which is very relatable to what we are currently undergoing, but which was very limited to some parts of China and some parts of the Middle East. The SARS crisis of 2003 gave rise to Alibaba, the second largest e-commerce company in the world. Can you think of something similar? I'm not saying that we should all start becoming entrepreneurs, but there will be a lot of new businesses which will get created out of these, downtimes. The third sector, which I feel is going to really come up in a very strong way, is the BFSI, the banking, financial services, and the insurance sector. There'll be a lot of companies which will be requiring restructuring of loans. There'll be people who will want insurance, health insurance, and all host of other related services. There is no way this sector is going to go down. The next, I think, in my list would be EdTech. Education has always been the biggest creator of economic activity around the world. And in the current parlance, I think education technology, as we clearly call as EdTech, is really the buzzword in the investment circles. It has been the flavor of the quarter. There is no dry up in this sector ever, and there are more number of people who are going to join this sector than any other sector. But one very important point to note here would be to ensure that edtech companies would usually be startups, because it's not a historically homegrown or a very large sector. Now, if you are evaluating or looking to evaluate any edtech company for yourself, one has to be very careful about the pedigree. One has to be very careful in evaluating what is the business idea that that company is really pursuing. How sustainable is that idea, and what is the funding capability of that startup? you have to really evaluate and look at that company just like a PE would do. A private equity investor would look at that company. So don't think about only as an employment opportunity, but think about a long-term growth plan for yourself. Last but not the least, from my side, I think tech in general, which is around automation, which is around analytics, and which is around robotic process automation. This is personally my favorite. I would strongly urge everybody to understand that data is the new oil, and anybody who's not realized the power of data will be at a loss. The business landscape is changing with IT everywhere. Subjectivity is changing to objectivity using data. Companies will expect more agile responses, and hence everything and anything on analytics and data will fly. Smart thing, therefore, will be to do is to add a tag of data analytics in whichever domain you are, get some formal understanding of the subject, or better still, get a certificate to supplement your knowledge and credentials. It is not reserved for the computer geeks only. Anybody and everybody can and should learn at least the basics, if not the advanced levels. Even medicine will run on data. Just yesterday, I attended a webcast on a new technology by Microsoft called HoloLens. Uh, Probably after the this webinar, probably some of you can look it up on Google. You will be amazed to see the possibilities such a technology can throw open. It is beyond augmented reality. It is beyond virtual reality. It's something called mixed reality. And doctors are doing operations on real life patients using HoloLens technology. The implications of such changes are going to be immense. So in a nutshell, I think there are a lot of hot sectors where one can find opportunities. Being an optimistic, I will not want to talk about the not so hot sectors, but my guess is that the world goes round every day, and we will see growth coming back in each and every sector as the economic activity, begins to pick up.
Thank you, Anand. Very, very insightful on the economy part. I think a lot of young professionals in the group would have picked up some key pointers. Also, guys, please feel free to keep typing in your questions to Anand or me, which we will take up as and when the time arrives. Moving on to the second section, which is on young professionals and students, which are some of the action steps that they need to take in order to kind of sail through these times. I would want to start this section with a very, very famous theory, which is very close to my heart, the Jack Ma theory. Anand mentioned Alibaba actually in his part also. He very clearly defines how do you have to divide your career into which all phases. The first phase, he says, obviously, is when you're below 20, you're a student. Being a good student may not necessarily mean attending all the classes from the first bench, but taking active interest in the topics that you are good at and you want to build a career in, and therefore getting a little more in depth in each one of those topics. So if there is someone below 20, I think this is an important one. 20 to 30, guys, is the time where you learn the most. You are like the child in your professional career. In these times, it is more preferred that you join a organization where you can follow your dreams, follow your passion, rather than joining a very large one that also has its own advantages. But Jack Ma puts it that join a smaller organization in the first 10 years of your professional life, where you will be allowed to experiment and follow your dreams and passion. 30 to 40 is the time when you take your career decisions about which way does it have to go. Do you want to work on your own, become an entrepreneur? Do you want to work for a large organization now? This is the time. Do you want to keep working in a startup and keep making it big? That is the time from 30 to 40. 40 to 50, he says, just do what you're great at. Don't experiment. It's too late. So focus on the fact that मैं इसमें अच्छा हूँ. Let me just keep doing and therefore making a lot of money. This is the time when you also get promoted. You make it big in life. 51 to 60, guys, is normally the time when you have to invest in young people. So your time is mostly gone. You have to make sure that you have a lot of young people and followers who are taking your legacy forward, taking your work forward. So this is the context I wanted to set for this section. And then moving on to certain very, very important tips that I felt are important for young professionals. First, guys, take a big interest in how this entire virtual world works, how remote works. And when I say how remote works, I mean specifics. Take interest in how you can raise the spirits of your team virtually. Take interest in how you can flag issues to your manager because you are not meeting him daily now, like before. Let's say if you are going to a office. Take interest in how these entire softwares work. Let's say you're working on Zoom right now. There are 10 other online platforms for that matter. How different software systems work also. Different CRM system, different analytic tools. Anand was also talking about. Taking interest in these will develop you more as a tech savvy person when we eventually come back to a post corona period. Because remember, the genie is out of the bottle. Now we are never ever going to get back to how it was, but maybe we'll reach a balance in the current times and the times that are lying ahead. So taking active interest in how remote works helps. Second is target companies that do well in recession. Very important. There are a lot of, so to say, green house sectors which will normally always do well. EdTech is one. I've worked in EdTech for a large part of my career, and I kind of can know and tell you that this is something that keeps doing well. This is recession proof in a way. So keep an eye on so that they are always falling in your radar. Third, in these times, guys, try to create your own internships. Very few people may be paying you very high for a job that if right now you're out of job, if you're looking for a job, but you will not get a better time to create an internship for yourself. So volunteer for organizations, go for local businesses, create virtual efforts where you're actually volunteering yourself for doing something new. A lot of interviews are also going to ask you after this time, what did you do during the corona pandemic? This is like a gap year in people's life. The more value added answer you give in those interviews, the better you are in terms of pitching yourself. Fourth is start online networking. I've been pretty poor at it in the first 10 years of my life, but I can tell you guys, there is nothing more important in your life than the people you know. Those are the people, those are the relationships that are going to stay, even at the cost of sounding odd. Even the current job that you are in may not be as important as the people that you know in your circle, in your professional circle. As the data says, 73% jobs are still filled through referrals. No interviews happen, they still happen through people that you already know. So start asking people out on virtual coffee dates. ये मैंने बहुत देखा है. In fact, there are 2 offers I have got from different networks where we went out on a virtual coffee date for half an hour, discussed about our own experiences, some of the new things that are coming up, which is helping you expand your network. People also are saying lesser no's to these coffee dates, even senior guys in the industry. Practice mock video interviews, very important. Because a lot of interviews now will move from face-to-face to video, and there are a lot of unexpected quirks also in the video interviews that are not normal for a face-to-face interview. So once you practice it, you'll get better at it. Keep gaining new skills. I think the entire Crack platform was born with the idea of giving new skills to people during these corona times. In this, it will be important that you know your own SWOT analysis. By SWOT analysis, I mean you know your own strengths and weaknesses, and you are aware of the opportunities and threats in the workplace today. Once that grid, that 2x2 grid is very clear for you, you'll always play on your strengths and try to avoid the weaknesses. This is something I've spoken in the previous sessions also. If you want to make it big in life, it's important to keep playing on your strengths. And don't look unfocused also in the certifications and the seminars you attend. It's important that whatever you're attending, you have a clear reason for it, that this is how it is featuring in my career graph, in my need for a different skill right now. And therefore, connected to the previous point, consider short-term or unexpected work in the interim. A lot of people have asked me, do I go for this particular software training right now? Do I go for this training or certification right now that is not connected to the career I want to build, maybe, but will help me in a particular skill? So maybe a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month period, these short-term work might be very useful to pick up a skill which you can eventually relate to the career that you're trying to build. So guys, ending this section with the traits, therefore, I would want you to kind of develop. First is resilience. A lot of you would not be even aware that you're already a lot more resilient than 3 months back. You're planning your expenses as per the current times. You have planned great work-life integration as per the current times. You have gone passed through those uncertain thoughts that have come to your mind in the first 10-15 days when you were asked to sit at home. So you're already a lot more resilient. Be aware of it and pitch that resilience when you have discussions and conversations with senior folks. Second is, you have to be tech savvy now. There is no other way. You won't survive. So very important trait, to be aware and be good in everything tech. Third is the connectedness. I am myself more active on LinkedIn than on any other platform, but I genuinely feel that to be a part of the overall industry right now, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn would be the top three, not in this order. So that is one very important part of being connectedness, being connected. And lastly, develop the trait of being proud. Why I'm saying this is, all your life you can tell these stories that I was in my last year of college when Corona happened. I lost my job and then bounced back strongly when Corona happened. I came out of the stress, anxiety, depression that I went through when Corona happened. Feel proud when you're saying these when you're saying these points. There is nothing better, no other thing that can be better than you talking about it very passionately about the journey you are going through. Right, Anand, you want to add your inputs, views on this section?
Yeah, sure. So I feel Corona or no Corona, the world will really not stop growing. It is only in our minds and only us who can really decide to be uncertain and hence stop growing. I will just share some, examples. We've learned from 1920s when a similar kind of a broke Spanish flu, when people started with people fearing job losses, and industrial revolution also coincided, and also the first big recession happened with the Spanish flu pandemic. But the world order changed, and people found new jobs. New jobs in factories, in engineering, and also in management, which before that did not really exist. And many new sectors opened up. So it's not really like the world has ended and world is not going to start offering opportunities tomorrow. There may be a hiatus, there may be a small bit of break, but I think we should be very hopeful and we should be working very strongly on ourselves to make it happen. Similarly, if I look back only 10 years back, in 2010, when the Lehman crisis broke and the entire financial circles around the world went into a tizzy, and credit squeeze happened, and downward impact on all sectors of the economy. But we have all lived to see that past, and we have all lived to see how everybody has sprung back, and not just sprung back for good, but I think for much better. The economic activity usually reduces for a few months, but new opportunities come along. So one just needs to be vigilant, keep track, and also make oneself relevant for the new environment. Remember, good talent is and always will be in short supply. Irrespective of whatever happens, you will always find companies looking for good people. They may not advertise, but they will always be in short supply. We only have to assess ourselves from the eyes of the recruiter and not our own. If we are good enough and whether we are able to surpass the expectations of the recruiter. There will always be a challenge to get to that elusive first interview for the fresh pass outs. And I understand this is a very challenging time especially for them. But remember, the world has chosen economics over health, and it's a very big statement. World has chosen economics over health, and that is why the lockdown has been lifted across the globe. If economic activity continues, there will be work required to be done by both, you and me, and lots of it. So don't be uncertain, don't be pessimistic. Look up, chin up, and ensure that you have the right credentials for the right job. Apart from some of the ideas I think Debo talked about, one can also take a break for a few months, extend your studies, or get an additional certification so that you are far better prepared and equipped for the world whenever it is ready for you. One can even look at turning into an entrepreneur, and especially for people who might have lost their jobs, if there are any in this audience. In case that is the case, can you look at, even becoming a supplier for your ex company if that company exists? Or you can solve a real life problem in today's context and appify it. Necessity is the mother of all inventions. And let me just give you an example, a 200-year-old example. I don't know how many of you know this. How was the bicycle invented? In 1815, one of the biggest volcanoes erupted that the world knows in Indonesia. And almost for an entire year, the entire world went into a dust cover, impacting crops, resulting in famines and disturbances around the world. During those times, horses were the only source of transportation, and they ate oats, lots of oats. People had a choice to give oats to horses or to eat oats themselves or to eat the horses. A German baron around that time invented a human propelling machine, which we now know as the bicycle, to overcome the shortage of horses, and the rest is history. So, how we can use adversity to our advantage to create new opportunities is what will set us apart. How each of us can use our limitations to think of new ways of succeeding in life is what is going to make us grow individually. So I think the opportunity lies with us within. We just should never only be dependent on the external environment to grow and succeed. So that's my 2 pence.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you. Vipin, any questions till now that we might want to
Yes, there are quite a few questions. Before I move on to them, I think a lot of quotable quotes during the session, Anand. I think for those who joined late, I think hope is not a great strategy to have was number one. And I think my favorite came just now. The world has chosen economics over health. That's a great statement. Thank you. The one question that we have is related to economics. I think it's directed to Anand. I think it's a sector specific question related to the e-commerce sector and the banking sector. So I think Anand mentioned that e-commerce sector probably will go down and BFSI will probably not go up. There are contrarian views, and which suggests that okay, is it the e-commerce sector, will it really go down, or will people actually shop more via e-commerce, and that way instead of going to malls and all, and hence that sector should probably look up, is the view in the section. Also, NPAs are going to shoot up. What impact will that have on the BFSI? So how do we corroborate these two contrarian facts with what you just stated?
Yeah, first on the e-commerce, I think there is some misunderstanding. I think I clearly stated that e-commerce as an industry and as a sector is going to grow significantly higher. There is no question of e-commerce going down. Even without Corona, it was supposed to go up significantly. And let me just corroborate here, like the industrial revolution, which changed the way the world, worked and business happened. And then followed with that with the personal computing age in the 1970s, which again changed the way we used to work. Now is the time when analytics and e-commerce is going to again reshape how we are going to work. So I think e-commerce as a sector and this opportunity is going to here to stay, and not just to stay, I think to multiply many fold. On the BFSI side, I think so BFSI consists of 3 different sectors: banking, financial services, and insurance. So definitely there is an overhang of NPAs, and while all the Atmanirbhar package that the government has provided is purely towards safeguarding the banks towards the NPAs, but there is no question that this banking in particular, and especially the public sector banks in particular, might face some heat going forward. But I can't say the same for rest of the BFSI sector. I think insurance is definitely going to go very big. Is going to become more huge as we see more privatization happening even on the personal insurance front. So far, the government has only liberalized non-personal insurance, but I think as we see LIC also getting privatized in the years to come, we will see a lot of activity happening in the insurance sector. Again, on the financial services side, there is a lot of activity already happening. Whatever business is not being taken care by the public sector banks is being taken care by private banks, and there is another activity which is ancillary, which is going to grow. So, in a nutshell, I think BFSI as a total, segment of the economy is going to go significantly higher.
Thank you, Anand. I think that answers the questions from Simran and So we have another question. This is about, I think this is the Debuji directed to you. This is about, is there going to be a trend of people or companies seeking more contractual opportunities rather than permanent ones? Is that a trend? Jyotsna asks this question. Is that something we are going to see?
Yeah,
Even
those
after
are a
this?
valid question. I think right now organizations are looking to control costs till the time they ride through this wave. And this is happening both internally and externally. But and this is mostly for the organizations that are stable, neither, let's say, growing like some of the sectors that Anand was talking about. In these organizations, they might be more lookout for contractual employment because hiring mostly will be on freeze and from 1 to 2 quarters. So this mostly will be the situation till the festive season hits us, which is in October, November. So therefore, as my slide said, it will be a good time to fulfill some of these contractual requirements, even if some of you are out of jobs right now, and keep adding to your experience. And once the situation gets a lot better, you can look for the full-time jobs.
Yeah, there's a third question, maybe, and after
Last
that
one,
we'll move
Vipin.
on.
So, and
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
we can take at that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on after this, and maybe this question is probably will require a session in itself. But the question is about how do you make sure, Himanshu asks, how do you connect to new people online without making the conversation shallow? It's not about the platform, but how do you engage in deep conversations without for people who you don't know online?
Anand, you want to take it?
So there is no one single answer to this. There is no magic bullet. I think as a philosophy, one has to start believing in networking. And I can tell you, whatever success that I've had in my career has only been because of the people that I know. And it's not that I started mingling with people with the intent of gaining something from them. It's something that you imbibe, and you have to start developing that quality within yourself to start meeting, going out, and meeting people. In current time, I understand that it will be very difficult to have a honest coffee conversation online. So what probably one can start doing is engage in some very light conversations online, have a very small chit chat. But when the time permits, and see, these relationships are not nurtured over 1 week or two months or 6 months or even a year. You have to just keep cultivating that habit of keep on knowing new people, and being able to help them rather than asking for help from them. That is the fundamental. So if you are able to add value to them, you will always find them reciprocating.
Correct. And this is something very integral to networking. One thing that I picked from Anand himself during the early years of my career, I think when Anand moved on from Hindustan Times, he had written a personal email to each member he had worked with. And many of those members, while I continued at HT, spoke about that email that was one-on-one written by him to them. And how they kind of miss him currently at HT. So various ways of connecting, guys, but and networking and increasing your network and creating value. But as I said, nothing would be more important. Moving to a third section, which is more related to EQ, therefore, on the topic that we are speaking right now, which is handling depression and anxiety. Some of the people said that there are a lot of anxious times coming with losing jobs, salary cuts, not able to find a job at all, people at home falling sick, people you know falling sick, being worried about people you are not physically with. So therefore, there are a lot of things that are coming up in people's lives. So I would want to take it very sensitively in terms of very clear actionables that you can do to handle anxiety and stress that you would be facing, not only right now. Setting the context clear, this is not only related to COVID only, this is something again which is very real and has always been there, will stay. So the tip that I would want to share would be more generic across all times and applicable right now also. First is remember that you're not alone. Now, there was a time in my life when I had gone through severe stress and anxiety. And I think there was a combination of personal problems, which included health, and a combination of professional problems, which included a very sensitive time in my professional career. At that time, speaking to people who have also gone through stress and anxiety in their lives helped. So remembering that you are not alone, remembering that this is not happening to you alone, should be the first one that should relax you. 20% people by medical history have anxiety, just that they have not gone to a professional and therefore they don't know it maybe. And 20% is a big number. I have 5 members in my family, and most probably one of us have depression and we don't know. So first thing is remembering that you're not alone. Second is focusing on the things that you can control. Now, a very powerful part of that is having gratitude for the things that you already have. Now, a lot of people have told me that they maintain gratitude diaries. They write down 1 or 2 good things about every day, and when they feel down and out, they look at that diary and feel better. But what I am trying to talk to you about is be very clear what is in your inner circle, which is the things you can control, and what is there in your outer circle जिसमें आपका कोई control नहीं है, things that you cannot control. Normally things that you cannot control, let's say politics, let's say Virat Kohli आज कितना रन बनाएगा, let's say how quickly will my family member get healed from corona, let's say will I go to office or not, because maybe that's decided by your organization. इन चीजों पे आप टेंशन लोगे, you will feel more anxious, more stress. But if you can bring it down to things you can control, कि मैं खुद कैसा परफॉर्म करूंगा, मैं खुद अपना डे कैसे प्लान करूंगा, मैं आज क्या खाऊंगा, कितने बजे सोऊंगा, then the entire focus shift towards more in power of the current situation. So that's the second tip. Thirdly, importantly, identify your trigger. सबका कुछ trigger होता है जिससे tension बढ़ जाता है. And maybe some of you can write in the chat box कि आपका trigger क्या है. मेरा trigger है, I have a friend who always has a very bad habit of spreading rumors and talking कि ये गड़बड़ होने वाली है. And in the early parts of my career, मैं दिन में 5 बार बात करता था उससे. उसके साथ बात करने के बाद तो मतलब आधा घंटा मैं खुद पानी पी रहा होता था, खुद को ठंडा कर रहा होता था कि ओ गॉड अब ये गड़बड़ होगा, मैं कैसे संभालूंगा. Very soon I realized 9 out of 10 things he says doesn't really happen. And I'm just getting more and more tense by hearing him. And I can see Sony smile, maybe she knows. This is something that you need to identify, guys, that what is your trigger? What is making you more tense and anxious? And therefore, being more aware will help you. Maybe reading social media, maybe seeing the news. Some of my family members see the news and then call me up and say, "Aaj news dekha, ye ho gaya hai." And I maybe Gurgaon mein ho gaya and I'm sitting there and I don't know. So identify your triggers and try and be aware. And second is recognize parallelly also things that relax you. And again, taking a personal example, all these 3 months, my pet, my Labrador Waffle, his name is Waffle, has been a big relaxation point. Anything that has troubled me, I have spent about 5 minutes with him and I've come back to ground zero. And a lot of you would be having pets in the audience, you would realize what I'm saying. But each one of you will have specific things that would relax you. Talking to your parents might be one, talking to a good friend might be one, just spending time alone, scrolling might be one, sleeping might be one. So recognize things that relax you. 2 clear parts, guys. Things that is triggering the anxiousness or depression or anxiety, and things that will relax you. One obvious thing in all this is remaining healthy. Now, remaining healthy, of course, has very few specific parts. One is eating healthy. Eating healthy would help you maintain your energy, prevent mood swings, staying hydrated, especially in summer. Drink a lot of water. Sounds very obvious, but something that we miss out on, a lot of us. Exercising, natural stress releaser. If you remember my storytelling session, endorphin. Exercising naturally releases endorphins, which you know is a stress releaser, because you feel the same feeling as you feel when you have heard a joke when you exercise. So that is a very important one. Planning your day helps a lot. By planning your day, I mean a lot of friends I know have started sleeping late and waking up really late, and therefore jumping into the first meeting right from the bed. I have also done it in the first 15 days of Corona. Doesn't help. you should try and maintain the same timeline of the day you had earlier, and feel good that you have 1 hour extra because you don't have to drive to office, or let's say you don't have to travel anywhere. So use that extra 1 hour जब आपको ready नहीं होना पड़ रहा है, drive नहीं करना पड़ रहा है. But otherwise keep the specific of the day similar. Breakfast time पे करो, lunch time पे करो, dinner time पे करो, ठीक time पे सो, ठीक time पे उठो. And you will therefore feel the feeling of accomplishment also at the end of the day, which is the maintaining of routines, which I spoke. Addiction, sensitive point, मैं ज़्यादा नहीं घुसूंगा इसमें, but if you can keep yourself a little away from the third or the fourth drink that you are taking, it helps. Maybe you are addicted and therefore 1 or 2 drinks you can't avoid, but don't go overboard because you have more time कि चलो जी आज तो ये bottle खत्म करते हैं. And then next day maybe you don't realize why you're feeling the stress, and it's related to the addiction habits that you have. Also guys, very important, be realistic. इस time पे normal वाला expectation आप नहीं रख सकते. It's important to feel okay. Like 39% people, as I read, are undergoing salary cuts. 15% people across India have lost their jobs. You can't expect the non-corona things to happen during this time. So lower your expectations and focus on empathizing more with yourself than you would have done normally. So positive thinking, Anand was also mentioning, helps. Do not force it on yourself कि positive बात सोचना ही है, but just go a little easy on yourself in terms of being neutral, and stick to reliable sources. I was speaking about this friend. Even for facts, आप जब fact भी check करते हो ना कि अरे कंपनी में क्या हुआ, आजकल बहुत टाउन हॉल्स हो रहे हैं या फिर कभी कभी ईमेल्स आ रहे, वी हैव रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग गोइंग ऑन, वी वांट टू टॉक टू यू पर्सनली. Before the town hall or before that call, do not ask that random friend कि क्या होने वाला है यार, ये मेल आया टाउन हॉल का, सब कुशल मंगल है. So try and stick to reliable sources for the facts. That will also help get your anxiety levels down. I would want to end this section with challenging your need for certainty. I don't know why, but all of us are constantly wanting to have more and more certainty. What happens because of this is we excessively seek reassurance from others. ठीक होगा ना, तुझे क्या लगता है जॉब मिल जाएगा ना, तुझे क्या लगता है कितने दिन में सब ठीक हो जाएगा. And that person who might know nothing about your life is giving you reassurance. So that is one thing that you should avoid. Second is micromanaging people. I've seen a lot of managers even around me starting to micromanage people more because they want to control more things in their life. Doesn't help. It spoils your life and the person in your team's life also. Procrastinating. A lot of people are delaying decisions in this time period कि चलो बाद में कर लूंगा, अब तो कोरोना चल रहा है. That also doesn't help. If you have a hobby, no better time to practice it right now. If you have a career change, no better time to read about it and gain the skills to be ready for it than right now. Repeatedly checking things. A lot of you scroll more than what is prescribed by doctor. If you know, if you are aware, 40 minutes of scrolling in a day is considered to be healthy. Anything more than that is considered to be unhealthy. But in these times, we are constantly on our phones checking ki kya aaya, notification kya, WhatsApp aaya, more than other times because you're not busy enough. And therefore, repeatedly checking things doesn't help. So guys, wanted to talk to you about these things about managing anxiety and stress. Anand would love to hear your views also on this.
Yeah, Debo, absolutely agree with what all you said. I'm really not a psychologist, but I can only share some of my real life experiences and examples. I've gone through some really big problems in life, but the one thing which has always helped me is to keep myself busy. It has worked every time right on dot. And I may not have the best answer, but this is what has worked for me in many, many years of my career. Even during lockdown, I like Debo said, I really created a routine for myself, and which included basically making breakfast for family, washing dishes, then attending office for 8 hours straight, and then definitely doing a 5-kilometer walk every day, even in my small balcony. Now, a routine is very, very important, and I can't really lay more importance to this. And because of this routine, I really did not ever get a time to feel stressed. Not that I didn't have any problems. I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of challenges in managing the company, in managing the business that I do manage. But I chose physical activity. I chose pursuing a new interest. I chose cooking and office work rather than worrying over what will happen next. And believe me, I did not get any time even to watch a single movie or even read, which I really love during the entire lockdown period. Every one of us really unconsciously yearns to do something new. You have to find what will keep you amused. I have a friend, I'll again give you an example. He loves watching movies. He's a diehard movie fan. His entire quota of Bollywood and Hollywood was finished, and then lockdown happened. So he turned to Tamil and Telugu. So he's watching movies with subtitles. But that is what is keeping him busy, and that is what is keeping him engaged. So he has no time to fret and feel stressed about. The trick that I have learned is really to keep our minds occupied. Now, coming to the job security part, I think my take is that this is the time when each of one has to prove twice over about how important and indispensable we are for the organization. Don't wait for the organization to notice you, but become visible through communication, through taking more interest in other projects, providing value adds, but don't become a pest. Remember, in the current times, anyone who is not adding value is a cost. It's again a very, very big statement. Anyone who is not adding a value is really a cost himself. So the choice is yours. If you are not adding value or if you are adding value, find innovative ways or solutions to suggest to your boss and other leaders. Whatever you are known for yesterday, improve upon that through more active participation and visibility. Even in spite of this, if the company folds up or there is any eventuality, chin up, because your extra effort will give you that extra edge over the others in the rat race. Let your bosses be your ambassadors for referrals in times of need. And this is again where your networking and social skills are going to be very, very useful. That's the true test of performance, and that confidence will give you the wings. Remember, times will never remain the same, either for the worse or for the good.
Thanks, Anand. Yeah, interesting.
Devo,
Interesting points you took. Yeah, I hear someone.
yeah, Devo, shall I add something on this?
Please go ahead.
As you guys suggested on this in terms of anxiety and depression. So during this lockdown phase, I adopted a very unique thing by the name of carpe diem. So this is a phrase, basically a Latin word, and generally day-to-day life, we are using this in terms of plucking the day and in terms of seizing the day. So wherein you need to be make the most in the present time and give little thought to the future. This is basically a carpe diem approach. And in nutshell, if I summarize this for the entire audience, so if you are depressed, it means that you are living in the past. If you are anxious, it means that you are living in the future. And if you are at peace, it means that you are living in the present. So these three words, that how I correlate during this pandemic situation and come out from the situation, wherein I am be more vocal and more engaging with the audience in terms of that what are the thought process is going on. So this is a very beautiful strategy, carpe diem. I must say that everyone need to exhibit in the market and adopt in the day-to-day life also.
Amazing, Kirti, and very, very relevant.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last section, guys, which is on the work-life integration. Many of you again wrote about this point, which you wanted us to cover. Work and life are not two separate buckets anymore. While I'm taking the session, I'm parallelly patting my pet because he's getting restless. It's now integral part of the same chain, and therefore it's a misguided metaphor. That we need to have separate buckets. People talk about the fact that there are 4 buckets. One is obviously work, second is home or family, third is community, which is friends, neighbors, and groups, and fourth is self. What has happened now is it has become a synergy and not a trade-off. What you have to do in order to handle it better, and as psychologists say, and I quote, is attitudes in one role need to positively spill over into another role now, or when experiences in one role serve as resources that enrich another role in one's life. You will have to look at each part as how it can help the other part rather than seeing at it independently. I'll take a lot of examples when I explain this. For example, very clearly, we had our business head who was talking to us over a Zoom call, and then his son came into the call and started chatting with all of us. Now, obviously, it was a brief 30 seconds that it happened. But what it ended up in is, one, the people in the team realized that he also has a life and therefore has many other strong responsibilities that go beyond the office life and the office image that he has, increases empathy. Second is, the child also realizes, okay, Papa also needs to talk to these hundreds of people on a daily basis, and therefore gets more understanding about the life at work for that small child also. So therefore, I'll give you some very clear tips, guys, which hopefully will help you in integrating this. First is, don't expect an ideal work-life balance. This is not going to happen now, and even when we open up, it's not going to happen anymore. Be realistic about your expectations. Maybe घर साफ नहीं हुआ है 3 दिन तक, it's okay as compared to a different time जब let's say maids आते थे रोज और घर रोज साफ होता था. So don't fret too much about that. That's just as an example. Second is, define your work hours. Anand spoke about 8 hours. It might be 8, it might be 6, it might be 10, but be very clear when you finish work and don't stretch it beyond that, which will help you create a boundary. Now, before, guys, याद कीजिए, boundary होता था, आप ड्राइव करके ऑफिस गए, काम किया, फिर ड्राइव करके या पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट से या अपने व्हाटएवर तरीके से घर वापस आए. अब वो बाउंड्री नहीं रहा. सो मेंटली पता ही नहीं चलता है कब 10, 11, 12, 1 बज गए और आप काम किए जा रहे हो on something or the other. Drawing that boundary is important. And for me, as I have repeated in this session, taking Waffle for a walk is a boundary clearly, after which I know I don't have to work. And therefore, let's say 7:30 is when I take him. Before that, I have to finish work. So I have to push myself to finish my work. So create boundaries like that. Make weekends sacred. Easier said than done. बहुत सारे जगह शायद होगा नहीं, but try to keep your weekends free for your own growth, your own development, spending time with family and loved ones. Create a designated workspace. Many people I know work sitting on their beds. बहुत सारे में वीडियो ऑन नहीं करना पड़ता है तो पता नहीं लगता आप लेटे हुए हो, बैठे हुए हो या नाच रहे हो. Creating a designated workplace will help you separate that particular space for work, even if it is at your home. It might be a study room, it might be even be your dining table, but you know that यहाँ बैठ के मैं 8 घंटे काम करता हूँ. Kind of creates that clarity. Adopt time theming. This I am doing and is helping me a lot. Time theming basically means you can give specific days to specific things. Maybe Saturday could be a family day. Tuesday could be a process day. Friday could be a numbers day. Sunday could be a friend's day. I'm just giving an example. Time theming से आप कुछ भी मिस नहीं करोगे अपने वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस में. आपको पता है आज वाले दिन में मुझे एटलीस्ट 2 से 3 घंटे या प्रायोरिटाइज करना है इस चीज को. इवन एट योर वर्क, इफ यू हैव टाइम थीमिंग बकेट्स, इट विल हेल्प इन दीज टाइम्स बिकॉज यू आर डूइंग anything and everything almost every day. Time theming helps. Leave a note to yourself when you're finishing. और सोचिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं काम कर रहा होता हूँ, जैसे ही काम खत्म होता है तब घर पे आ जाता है कि थोड़ा बर्तन भी साफ कर लो, बड़े दिन से गंदे पड़े हैं. इन दैट टाइम लीविंग अ नोट फॉर योरसेल्फ कि कहाँ पे काम खत्म किया है हेल्प्स, ताकि मैं जब साफ करके वापस आऊं, आई नो एग्जैक्टली वेयर आई लेफ्ट and I am not going back to ground zero. I'm not starting from zero. And these are small short notes that you can leave for yourself when you're finishing work. Very importantly, don't feel that you're escaping work. It is very important that a lot of people, when they're taking a break, feel that, oh God, मैं 20 minute 15 minute काम नहीं कर रहा, am I escaping work? Don't have that feeling. It's absolutely natural for you to take 10-15 minute breaks in between, and don't have the guilt of escaping work. As I said, remote work is here to stay. Also, a lot of these points are from a point of view of a workaholic. Just in case you are not working enough and on the other side of the spectrum, ignore some of these points and don't start taking all breaks all day. Having 8 hours a day off work is also important, where you are actually positively contributing, creating value and not increasing cost for the organization. I have also devised some interesting daily cheats for you. First is obviously food. सबके लिए बहुत easy daily cheats है. This will keep you away from work. Things that you can do all through the day: lunch time, breakfast time, dinner time. याद रखो तब काम नहीं करना है. Parallel काम भी कर रहे हो, lunch, breakfast, dinner भी कर रहे हो, doesn't work. You clearly should detach. Second is hide your tech. ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज अब निकला है, लैपटॉप मोबाइल छिपा दो काम के बाद, डोंट इवन कीप इट इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू, ताकि मन ना करे कि उसे देखने का या लैपटॉप खोल के ईमेल चेक करने का. एक्चुअली हाइड इट और आस्क योर किड्स एंड योर ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स टू हाइड इट, ताकि आपको पता ही ना हो कहाँ है. थर्ड इज शेड्यूल अ सोशल कॉल, फैमिली के साथ, दोस्तों के साथ, लव्ड वंस के साथ. कोइंसिडेंटली आनंद एंड आई हैव बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ 2 or 3 social calls for the last 1 week, 10 days. Really helps, and that kind of builds your network also. Grab some fresh air, I mentioned this point. Book a virtual class. Cracked is a great example. इससे आप detach भी होगे, कुछ नया सीखोगे भी. That kind of helps. And last is obviously sharing openly with your partner, with your loved ones. How was your day? There you talk about things that you did well, things you regret, and therefore self-awareness badega. Also, these daily cheats keep you away from the constant stress that you have for work. So therefore, finishing, guys, fear basically comes from uncertainty, and uncertainty is very closely linked with dar lag raha hai. We can eliminate the fear by knowing ourselves a lot better. Right, Anand, last few lines from you, and then we'll open the house for questions.
I think I'll skip my last few lines and let the questions, let's have the questions, because already 12 o'clock, and let's address the questions first.
Yeah. So guys, open to you. Please feel free. I think Vipin, some of the questions have already come. We'll take the session till 1:15, just openly sharing 15 minutes extra because I see a few questions. So we'll take it up for 13 minutes more. Vipin, please feel free to ask.
Yeah. So we have a couple of career-oriented questions. So Abhishek asks, he's an MTech, but no company is considering his resume for job in the core or software sector. Any tips for him? Ganesh asks, what do you think is the world approaching in terms of jobs? So I think we spoke about it, but I think a refresher of what are the kind of job profiles which are going to be in demand in the next couple of years.
Anand, I think this is more directed towards you.
Okay. So I think a very simple and plain answer would be not to pitch what you can offer, rather than find what the companies want. So while I will not say that a lot of companies are hiring today, but ऐसा भी नहीं है कि कोई भी hire नहीं कर रहा है, and there is no hiring going to happen in the future also. The right approach probably would be to find out the missing gaps. So like for instance, if you are an MTech and you have a particular specialty in doing something in one language, is that language in demand? Is that particular skill in demand or not? By experience, I know understanding one language gives you the capability to switch on and learn something parallel very, very easily. Now, understand what can be in demand. If not, it is not today in demand, but at least skill up so that you are more equipped and better prepared for the next 2 or 3 months whenever the demand resurfaces. We talked about some of the sectors and some of the areas where demand is likely to come back sooner than the others. So try and focus your energies and try and find out opportunities specifically in those sectors first before moving on to the areas where you would have liked to work as a preference before this pandemic broke.
Thanks, Anand. There is another question about planning the day. I think Debojit, you can answer that. This is about, so Riddhi asks, she has been reading Robin Sharma, and he suggests that the first things that you ought to do while after you wake up is to work on your personal mastery. Whereas some other readings that she has done suggest that you should start your day with the most important pending tasks that you have. So which of the two approaches is correct?
Yeah, so Riddhi, I have also read a lot of books by Robin Sharma. I think his leadership wisdom book forms the basis of a lot of things that I have tried to cultivate. First thing I think, Riddhi, I would suggest is make your bed after waking up, and not the rest too. It gives you a feeling of accomplishment. It also gives you a permanent feeling कि उठ गए हैं अब काम करना शुरू करना है, because you see that your bed is all set back to normal, and a lot of psychologists also actually suggest that on a serious note. Your day, Riddhi, is completely belongs to you, and therefore you might have a ratio you want to divide your day into, maybe 20% on personal stuff and 80% on work, or maybe a 40-60 or even a 50-50. I would suggest what I do normally is what I can share with you. I would normally take up the tasks for the day after I've finished my breakfast and sit for work at about 9:30ish. I would go through the agenda of the day, what I would want to accomplish by 7:30, and then divide things into first half and second half. Look at the meetings I have during the day, and then start with the first meeting, which I normally have at 10 o'clock. So that's what I do. But your day, as I said, belongs to you. You would know better. I know you're a student and getting into professional life right now. So maybe you would want to have a larger share for your personal growth. Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debuji. We have another question here from Puran, who's asking about how to deal with the demotivation which comes along when you find that somebody, so the company that you worked so hard for, and is suddenly faced with an issue and they decide to deduct your salaries for the next 6 months. So how do you deal with that? How do you rationalize that?
Yeah. Puran, good question. You working very hard is debatable, but that's for a different day. But I agree with the fact that it is disheartening. It feels that the world is not fair. My organization is not fair. But for a moment, you have to empathize with what your organization is also going through, Puran, at this moment. The revenues are almost down to zero in most of the organizations. They are out of cash. They are trying to make sure that people are not churned out, and still therefore focusing on the deducting salaries, not all but the 39% that we see. So empathizing with the owner and being in the organization's shoes will help you understand the current scenario a little better. That's all you can do. That's number one. Second is also realizing, as I said in my slides, you can't have the same expectations as pre-corona time during these 6 months. Life will be different. You have to learn to adjust a little differently during these 6 months. But for all of you, not only you, Puran, all of you, don't think that you have to perform a little lesser, maybe 20% lesser if that's the cut. You have to perform maybe at 200% right now, and make sure that you're visible. You're very much there in the organization's eyes. But I think parallelly empathizing will help.
The next question we have is a little strategic one. So Shiv Gangwani asks, he has a startup who's manufacturing eco-friendly amenities for luxury hotels. And since hotels have been the biggest hit due to the crisis, they don't think they will get business till the end of the year. So what would be appropriate to channelize his sales through a B2C model by launching his products in the retail market? Or is there anything else that you would suggest to keep business running? I'm not sure. Yeah.
See, it's a very typical issue which a lot of companies will face, which were typically doing B2B businesses, and suddenly they will find that B2B may not be as yielding or as worthy of the time like in the past. So definitely one has to look at all possible avenues. I will not say only B2C. I would say a lot of more innovative mediums through which one can reach out and start generating revenues, because sustenance is going to be the key. I'm sure everybody would have heard this statement that liquidity and cash is going to be the king. So in times like these, it is very, very important to have a very strong eye on the ball, to have a very strong visibility on how much cash you can generate and keep. So it starts with definitely maximizing your revenues by whatever channel that you can get, whether it is through a government channel, whether it is through an agency channel, whether it is through a B2B channel, whether it is through a B2C channel. I think there is no rule which will apply to stop you or to allow you to go anywhere else.
Thanks, Anand. We'll move to the next one. This is a small one by Nilakho, who's asking, what kind of an impact will this downturn have on people's consumption of entertainment? Is that going to go down? Will people focus only on essential consumption, or what kind of impact is going to have on entertainment?
So, Nilakho, absolutely, there is going to be a strong impact on the outdoor entertainment business. But if you look at the virtual entertainment business, which is, let's say, movies on demand or games online, and related new businesses will come up, new ideas will come up, which will gamify it. So, for instance, in the last question, that strategic question that person had asked. Now, what happens if he is able to, mix some entertainment factor with his, product and start, bundling it with some other solution. Now, there are many innovations which are going to happen in the entertainment industry also. I know PVR is working on a model where they are making PVRs as a absolute 100% trusted COVID-free zones, even much more hygienic than even your homes. And they're going to advertise it so strongly that you will find a reason to go there. So it's not like, again, as I said earlier, world is not coming to an end. There are business models which will need to adapt, which will need to innovate in order to survive and grow.
Yeah. This one is from Swarnpreet. He wants to know which foreign language would be the most appropriate to learn in terms of picking up a skill.
So depends on which area or which segment you work in. If you are in the technology segment, you can look at the possible countries where your company has contracts with, and likewise. So it has to be very specific to your area of interest. It should not be around what you like. It should be more around, if you are taking it as a hobby, then anything can go. But if you are taking it for professional development and growth, then it has to be linked to your line of business.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm the one asking the questions and not the one answering them. This one is from Krishna, who says, how do you make buying uncertainty smoother? Customers suddenly have postponed all their buying plans. He's asking this about the education sector, but I think this is true about all sectors. How do you make them think about buying once again without coming across as very pushy or sales oriented?
So let me answer that. I work for a retail company, and this is the biggest challenge that we face. How do you generate demand back? And I must say that it is very difficult. It is very challenging. But as I have been saying for the last 5-7 minutes, these are the times when we will need to innovate. These are the times when we will need to understand what does the customer want and not what we want to sell. Like when you are seeking a job, you don't have to sell what you possess. You have to sell what the employer now wants from you. Similarly, in any business, any product, you have to understand what will the customer or really want, or why is he wanting to buy that product from you. So it's not a question of people deferring buying decisions. It will happen for a variety of reasons. But similarly, people changing their decisions will also happen because you have chosen to innovate, and you have chosen to communicate that innovation to them in a manner in which it suits them.
Adding to this, I think I work currently in a used car space, and the current communication, guys, that we are using is the world is moving from shared mobility to personal mobility, more so now, because people don't know who would have sat in that public transport before, and therefore go for a used car. This is generating demand, proactively creating demand, even if people maybe are not thinking about it, and could be a good example of what Anand is talking about.
Yeah, maybe we'll take the last one, and this is more of a wonder than a question. So Kirti asks, what kind of unicorns, or should we change the definition of unicorns if they can't even sustain a pandemic for 60 days?
Yeah. Kirti, I think that's a statement Vipin rightly mentioned, and I think we are not the right people to comment on a specific organization you have in mind, maybe. But it's tough. It's tough on organizations right now. We have to be aware of the fact that it's not easy. I think Anand, from a CFO lens, would be able to also add that it's not easy right now.
So I can just say that at a conceptual level, a lot of unicorns will become soon. So
rather soon be gone, I think.
No. I will not say soon be gone, but soonicorns. So they will they may not remain unicorns. They may still get back to that level of soon to be unicorns. But that does not change the fundamental of the business. Please understand, the way you evaluate any company, whether as an employee or as an investor, should be based on the fundamentals of the business. Should not be based on whether it's a $100 billion company or a $1 billion company or a 1 million company. If the fundamentals are right, you will invest, and if the fundamentals are right, then you will want to work in that company. If the fundamentals are not right, if there's an integrity issue, if the promoters are not good, if there are messing up the books, they are not employee friendly, then why will you want to work for that company, and why will that company ever grow? So the question should never be around the status of the company in today's date. The question should always be about why would you want to invest in that company as an investor, and if you are ready to invest in the company as an investor, then I think that's the company that you should work for.
Yeah. Thanks, Anand. Guys, I know there are a lot of other questions. As always, Anand and I will answer those questions on LinkedIn. I will tag you on my post that will follow immediately after this session, the questions that we could not answer. If you're not connected to me on LinkedIn, please do so, and I'll add the questions that you have already asked. Also, now the next session, the next Saturday, we are going to take up a very interesting topic, which is leading by heart and managing by mind. This is the ideal combination of IQ and EQ that we need to have as a skill in our lives in order to be successful in our professional lives. Mr. Saurabh Gupta, who is currently the executive director at Dalmia Cements, has been the CEO of VLCC, has been the CEO of HTLC, also has handled various senior positions in Asian Paints, and Pepsi will be joining us as the guest speaker for this session, and is a very close friend for Anand and I also. Thank you, Anand. It was amazing to have you for the crack sessions. We look forward to your support in the future sessions also. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Devo. Thank you, everybody. It was really wonderful, being here, and I wish you all the best. Please don't think that Corona is here for ever. I think collectively we are going to make this disappear, and collectively we are all going to emerge out stronger. So wish you all the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Let's stay in touch. See you next Saturday, 12 o'clock, same time. Thanks, Vipin.